Hello, welcome everyone to our virtual lunch hour. I'm Jillian Graber, Executive Director of Protect PT, and we have some very special guests today. We have some of our summer interns. We are super lucky that we got some wonderful summer interns this summer. Actually, one of the good things that came out of COVID-19, we could have folks from all over, and actually some great local folks that wanted to participate in helping us this summer. And so we're really thankful that we have everyone here today. We've got with us Ryan Murphy. He's our summer intern. Say hello, Ryan. And we also have Peter Nelson. Say hi, Peter. And we have John. I'm gonna mess your name up again, John. Rokicki. And these guys are working on our environmental science programs here at Protect PT. We've got some water programs that we're working on, and we also have environmental monitoring. And because of the environmental monitoring, we also have our wonderful Kathleen Brasso, our environmental scientist, with us today. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you for all the work you've done so far. I mean, I gotta say, every year we put a lot of work into trying to find some great interns and great volunteers. And this year, we have a really fabulous group. And so we're going to talk a lot about, what these guys have been working on, and, what it is like to work here at Protect PT. And you guys can ask questions in the audience. So if you have questions for them, please let them know. And you can put them in the chat. Mary's going to be monitoring that chat. And we've got Patrick on technical support, helping us with our visuals. So Patrick is actually our new project and outreach coordinator. So we're really excited to welcome him to our team today. And thank you, Lois, for joining us. Yep. And I think we're going to get started. So we wanted to talk to these guys about, some of the things that they've been doing so far with Protect PT, and what the experience is like. So we'll just, maybe introduce yourself and maybe talk about why you wanted to do this internship, and some of the things that you've been working on. So maybe let's start with Ryan, because you're at the top of my screen here, and take it away, Ryan.
Okay, so how's everybody doing? I'm Ryan Murphy. I am a senior chemical engineering student at Penn State. This summer I decided that I wanted to come on this team because I'm actually from Penn Trafford. I went to high school there, and I was really interested in looking into the environmental impact of everything going on in this area and try to help the community with some of my background. And so far it has been pretty gratifying to be able to feel like I'm making a difference with some of the work. And so it's been great.
Great, thank you. And next up we got Peter. Hi, Peter.
Hey everyone. I am working on my master's in environmental science at Duquesne University. I'm actually from Denver. I actually wanted to stay in Pennsylvania for an internship just to learn all about the environmental effects. So I'm really blessed to be working with Protect PT and learning all about the environment and ways to really help out.
Great, thank you, Peter. And John, you're next.
Thanks, Jillian. I'm a senior geology student at Pitt Johnstown, and I hope to do environmental work in the future. So that's why I wanted to be an intern here, and it's been great to have the hands-on experience so far with what we do at our residence houses and stuff like that. So it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, so maybe you guys could kind of talk about what is the experience that you've had this summer. Tell me maybe some of the stuff that you've been working on, and what it's been like, maybe how it's different from school and what you're learning in school.
Yeah, so far, I'm one of the water quality interns. So far that the sampling is coming up soon. So the that project should get off the ground soon. But so far, I had a pretty good contribution to our first comment to the DEP, which was very, it was cool. So I was basically like, I looked into the chemicals, like the harmful chemicals that would have been an issue with that particular situation, and I gave a little background of why it would be dangerous. And so I wrote quite a bit there, and it was, when going through that project, it taught me that like the doing work for a reason and not just like for a grade is it's a lot easier to do it. This is the first kind of opportunity I've had to use my knowledge from school and apply it to something that like actually mattered. And so it was really interesting to like, it's a different feeling, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah. And so you're talking about, and Patrick, if you wouldn't mind going to the next screen, you're talking about the Westmoreland Sanitary Landfill. So we wrote a comment. There was a comment period that ended the beginning of last month. And we wrote a comment about the evaporation that is planned there at the sanitary landfill. And if you were joining us a couple weeks ago, when we had Dr. John Stoles on, he really outlined some of the things that have been going on at the facility and why this is such a bad idea for the community. And so tell us a little bit about some of the work that you did here. You know, this is the map. So tell us about kind of some of the thought process that went into that comment you guys made.
So one of the big things John and I worked on was to see the wind direction in this area, like if there are any chemicals in the air, where would the wind bring them? So since the Westmoreland Sanitary Landfill doesn't measure wind, we decided to look at different airports around the region. So the Arnold Palmer Airport, the Allegheny Airport, and the Washington County Airport. And we got some data saying where the average winds in this area was. We actually made a graph saying, all right, at the Westmoreland County landfill, the average winds will be about the northwest direction.
Yeah.
So that was pretty.
And we actually have a map. We have an example of their windrows. Patrick, if you'll go to the next screen, thank you. So this is. Tell us a little bit about what this is showing.
Yeah, so we just kind of wanted to create like a visual for it, and this actually shows where the direction of the wind is coming from, not to. So as you can see, it's kind of going up to the top right of your screen. So it's actually blowing from the southwest to the northeast, and this is pretty general for Pennsylvania. And yeah, we just figured that would be a good visual to include in the comment to show where this air pollution could potentially travel.
And so what are some other things that you guys remembered contributing to this comment?
Sorry, I'm going to butt in for just a second. We have, for those who don't know, the plan to evaporate the leachate was a problem because that leachate has material in it from fracking. And we actually have a great real life example of that in Lake Karachay in Russia, which was the Soviet Union's dumping ground for radioactive waste. They just put everything in the lake, which was fine when the lake was above water. And then there was a drought, and all of that sediment, all of those toxic materials settled to the bottom and got dust into the air and affected a huge region of the population. So we know for a fact that sediment from leachate can get into the wind and affect everything. So this is super important, and I really appreciate all of your guys' work on this.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's not just a water problem, it's also it's an air problem. When you guys were doing the comments, what are some things that really stood out to you?
So for me, whenever I looked into, so in the report for the request for a permit that we had access to, they actually reported the specific pollutants and how much would be coming off of it. And so I looked into those specifically, and we had, some things like radium, sulfur dioxide, and then like nitrogen oxides, and all those things like can be harmful to sensitive populations, but then also like it was extreme concern for the people who would be around it actually operating the evaporator, because people who are exposed to like high concentration of these air pollutants can develop things like chronic bronchitis and stuff like that relatively quickly, especially for prolonged exposure. But then also like something that really stood out was just like how much of it, like there were tons of it going into the air, and they would be doing this on a daily basis. So it's like it was kind of hard to gauge necessarily because of like different diffusion patterns of gases, like where it would go, but it could concentrate itself in a certain neighborhood, and then some people could get asthma, or people who had asthma could be affected negatively. And I thought that was just like insane that they would even ever consider something like this.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, John or Peter? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it just kind of blew my mind that something of this scale could like slide under the radar, and they wouldn't expect many people to raise eyebrows at it, but that's, you know, kind of where we step in. But it's just like, to build off Ryan's point, I mean, the stuff that's coming from this is just insane, and I think that's what struck me the most and kind of gave me motivation to put together a good comment for it.
Yeah, and you guys really did a phenomenal job. I should mention we also have some interns that are not here with us today, as well as some volunteers, some wonderful volunteers that are helping us, not only with this comment, but there's also another comment with the Department of Environmental Protection for VOC emissions, and they're helping us with that as well. And one thing that really sticks out to me when I, like every year, you know, we interview you know, many young adults for these internship positions. And something that really sticks out to me is you guys all had really unique skills, which is one of the reasons why, you know, you were picked. Because like, I remember like Peter, I remember, you know, you have some of that meteorology background. And so I think that, you know, when you're looking for an internship, or whether you're looking for, you know, a career path, you know, one of the things that we as an employer, you know, would look at is, you know, what kind of skills have you accomplished in the past? What kind of skills have you acquired through previous work, previous experience that you've done? Not only that we could utilize, but that we could build on, because we want to, you know, we're here to teach you, but we also have to make sure that the folks that we have working with us have a really good understanding. And I just think that you guys in particular are have just a really well-rounded sense of what is going on, and you really jumped in to the work, which is interesting. And Lois actually has Lois has a comment. Since you guys are young enough to recall your higher education experience, would you say that the science of climate crisis is better understood in that population versus in general? So is climate science better understood among the younger generation, do you think? Do you have comments on that?
I think so, because like whenever you're going for something that's like along the lines of science, of like that climate issues kind of come up just you know, naturally, because you know you're discussing, maybe if it's in a chemistry class or something, like I had an experience talking about like why carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and it has to do with its molecule and stuff. So it's like that got brought up, and I think that something like that probably didn't get talked about before when it wasn't an issue. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd say in college for me was the first time I experienced like professors start to discuss you know, climate science, because I didn't get any of that in high school. So I thought that was like an eye-opening experience, and is pretty much what got me very interested in the environmental field. So I'm glad I finally got to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I had to take a climatology course just for my undergraduate degree. And like we could actually like go full in depth of like the troubles that are being experienced, and like also like kind of more understand like, all right, so this is happening and this is why, and like why we really have an impact, and like what we can do to like try to change this whole curve, all this bad.
Yeah, and actually by the work that you guys are doing, you're having a positive impact, because if, you know, if this pollution isn't able to occur, then you've, you know, made a difference to make sure that, you know, other folks in the future, not only are they not exposed to that pollution, but, you know, could have a positive impact on the climate as well. So we actually posted our comment that these guys worked on. It's on our website, and I have the link up on the screen if anyone wants to check it out. It's a really amazing technical comment. One of the things that we try to do at Protect PT, and this is what we kind of worked on with this comment, is we gather a lot of the information. So we got the actual documents from the PA DEP. So we're looking at all of the procedures and all of the things that the company has proposed at the site, and looking at all the technical documents which they did, and then they researched, you know, based on the things that are mentioned in the plan, you know, what could be the potential outcomes of that process happening. And so it was an amazingly thorough comment. And so if you have a chance to look at it, please do, because that was their work. And Lois says that helps reassure me as a baby boomer, you guys. So thanks for that, Lois. So Kathleen, what has your experience been working with these guys? Because you do a lot of monitoring and one-on-one work with them.
They have been great. We of course have had limited social interaction due to COVID-19. We have been trying our best to do social distancing. We did have a 2-hour training session in the parking lot, which thank you so much for bearing with me and going through that, where I just threw an insane amount of information at them and handed them a binder. And they all, like, this was John and Peter, our field interns for the monitoring program this summer. They both just went with it and have been doing a fantastic job and really have been working independently. So I'm extremely proud of them and all of that they have accomplished. They've also been doing really good work on our reporting, which is something that is not necessarily complicated, but has many, many steps, which I think is important to realize. A lot of science is tedious, and just honestly putting up with it can be a bit of a bear. So thank you so much for all of your work with that. I have zero complaints and nothing but praise.
Yeah, so I think that you brought up a couple things, Kathleen, that are really important. So one, we have our interns. We don't use our interns to get coffee. We or do
No, we're not making them get
meaningless
coffee.
tasks. We have them really working and really jumping in and trying to absorb all this information we're throwing at them and then use it. You know, we only have them for a couple months, so we have to kind of pack that information in, and we had a whole orientation process. And you know, for anybody, it can be really daunting to kind of take in all that information all at once and then have to use it and apply it. So what do you guys think about that? How have you dealt with that with working with us at Protect PT?
So, I mean, I think that like it's very kind of like at your own pace. It's, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's nice. It is a little bit, it was a different experience in the sense that like, because we're not in person, so it's like, we're not actually physically going to an office for the job. So it's like, anytime we have time, you know, we just start working on the project. And I think that, you know, kind of does get things done quicker in some ways. But yeah, I mean, so far it's just been like, you know, learning self-discipline with this whole COVID situation, having to be home and just like finding time to put work in. And I think that that's something that I've learned.
Man, I think that's a great point, because when you are working a job, you are not going to be sitting in office with a boss sitting behind you the entire time. That's just not realistic. You're going to be working in a team. You're going to all be working together. You're going to have a shared document. So I really appreciate that you guys have been working well together, as well as working well with us and our process.
I'd say the only like overwhelming part for me was how many different projects there were initially that you guys are involved on. But I think the more I learned about each one, it's like you kind of follow your interests into like in a way, and I think that was really cool because it's like a very group effort and everyone's involved in everything. So you still get to touch on every different project that you want to, and I think that's really cool because I think the more interested you are in something, the better you'll perform at it. So that's something I've been very happy about with this so far.
Yes.
Now, the real nice thing here, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Peter. You go first.
The nice thing here is we all like work together as a group. There's no like hierarchy or anything. So I know like at first it can be a little overwhelming of how much stuff this company does. But I know like, all right, if I have a question, I can ask anyone, I can reach out. There's not like some ladder like I have to talk to first. If I have a question, like everyone's all willing to help. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, and actually that goes well with what I was going to say. Because we're a small organization, we have kind of the ability to do that. We all have our own individual tasks that we have to accomplish, but at the end of the day, the work is the most important thing, and the projects, that's why we exist. I have a lot of admin stuff I have to do as the director, but I wouldn't have that admin stuff to do if it weren't for the projects that we do. And you guys are right. We do kind of look at what comes at us. Before you started, we had an idea of what you were going to accomplish while you were here, but we had no idea that we're going to have, X, Y, or Z comment that comes down the pike. So environmental issues happen very quickly and in real time. And, sometimes we are the last people to know about it. And so we're just trying to facilitate, the discussion with the Department of Environmental Protection, with the people that are near the site, with the people that are going to be impacted. And all of that, it kind of culminates into this, this group of people that is just trying to work on a ton of different projects all at once, and we try to contribute what we can. And so do you guys feel like we kind of let you pick which projects you want to work on, and kind of figure out what skills you have, and that's what you'll contribute to? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Except for Peter and John. Peter and John have to do the monitoring.
That is number one.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And the monitoring is so important. I mean, we're primarily right now taking baseline samples because there's no fracking activity happening, but that's something that's been lacking in the industry for a long time. And that's actually why we decided that this is something we're going to focus on, because number one, noise data was lacking, right? And then number two, the baseline noise data. So, we're collecting this data, and we're going to be able to use it in the future, and use it, now to find out what a neighborhood is normally like, as far as like, what the noise level is like. And so it's really, it's interesting stuff. And so you guys will have a lasting impact for quite a long time, I should say. Patricia Wendell actually has a question. She asks, what does Ryan think about the changes in Penn Township related to the fracking pads, current and projected?
So when she says changes, what does she mean exactly? Like how there's like a lot more popping up? like recently.
Yeah, that's that. I think that that's what she's saying. Trish, if you want to chime in and give a little bit more context. So let me see. She's okay. Well, we can move on, and she can chime in again. What I wanted to talk about too is like all the different projects that we have going on. So right now, in addition to the comment we already did for the DEP, we're finishing up the comment with the VOCs for DEP. We're also working on an air monitoring project in Penn Township, in Trafford and surrounding areas. We got some funds thanks to some generous support of local folks. We're able to buy some air monitors, and we're looking for folks to host those monitors in specific locations. So these guys have been tasked with finding out where the best place to put those monitors are, and then we're going to be looking at who lives around there that's a resident and a member that would want to host one of these monitors, and that's one of the purple air monitors. So look for that in the future. I think that's going to be something that's really going to be a long-term impact in our community.
Sorry, I'm just really excited about that program, because those of you who don't know, the purple air monitors we use just have an SD card. So we just get your data and download it and do an individual report. We are going to have 3 permanently installed air monitors around the community that you can go to Purple Air's website and see in real time what the air quality is around you. So if you are willing to host one of these monitors, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone. We just need people with electric and Wi-Fi that is consistent, and we are looking at a couple of areas. We are going to try to triangulate around the township so that we can be as thorough as possible. But certainly, if anyone's interested, please feel free to message me directly or email me. Yeah, sorry, I'm just really excited about that. But
Yeah.
all right. Back to you, Jillian.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the excitement because, we're here to serve the community, and so we want to make sure we're doing that really well, and it's great to have people that are passionate, that are helping us do that. So thanks so much, Kathleen. So Tricia says, did you realize that it was happening, what they were and how the community would be affected? I think she's trying to ask, from if there's, was it Ryan or John that's from Penn Trafford?
Yeah, it's
Ryan. Okay. Yeah, so I guess like as a local person, as a person living in this community who, grew up here, I think that she's asking, like, did you know that this was happening, and how the community was going to be impacted?
Yeah, so I actually, where my parents' house is, like where I grew up, there was a well pad that was like somewhere near there, because I actually remember seeing trucks driving through like the woods behind our house whenever I was younger. And it was really loud. I think they fracked there again, like not too long ago, like maybe like 2016 or something like that, because I remember it being really loud out back. But I'm not sure if that's what it was or not, but I think that it probably was. But this, what's on the screen right now, they can see this slide, right? That's the windrows still.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the Dracolic well pad that's in Level Green, and like that was like gonna start being built whenever I was still in high school. I remember I drove past it all the time going into Trafford, and I like remember that there was someone living like right next to it, and now that house is abandoned, and I'm like not sure like what happened there, but I think that like I wasn't really sure like the actual environmental impact of fracking. I just kind of knew it was controversial, but once I started this, then like I really learned about what it does and like how it can affect people, and it's actually kind of like insane to me that they would put it this close to people's houses and stuff.
Yeah, and I should mention that that the Dracolic well pad is one of 4 in Level Green, and this one in particular is surrounded by thousands of people. And one of the things that we actually have the interns this summer working on is talking, kind of researching a little bit more on the emergency preparedness plan, on the emergency response plan, because for this well pad in particular, the operator, Apex Energy, submitted a plan that is actually missing a whole housing plan. They're supposed to put in there all of the houses that are within a half-mile radius, which would be the normal evacuation zone for a well pad. And they also, the interns are researching currently what different explosions and accidents have happened at well pads, and what's like the normal evacuation radius, because we know from talking with first responders and just the things that have happened in the past that normally it's not just a half mile. And I should note that if there is a half mile evacuation, which would be the normal evacuation, my family would be evacuated and my neighbors. So this is like highly important to us in our community. So thank you guys for all your help with that. And we want to make sure that the people that live in our community are going to be able to be evacuated. So do you guys have any things that you kind of learned about the well pad now that you know more about what's going on, and maybe some things you want to highlight here?
I think a big thing is the loopholes that they being the gas company find in their permits and stuff like that. That kind of gets into the legal stuff, which I haven't really been too involved in, but it's just eye-opening to see that they really know how to get around and, you know, try and make the most out of communities like us. And it's that just makes our work more rewarding, because, you know, to fight back, and in other communities too, it's very important too. But it's just, I think that's honestly been the biggest eye-opener of this experience so far, is how the gas companies will do anything they can to make sure that well goes up.
I think it's important to note that these loopholes are not a surprise to the state. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but a lot of the forms and things that need to be filled out to permit a well pad are simply desktop reviews where somebody goes through a checklist and checks things off. They're not necessarily looking at the community at large. Bits and pieces of the project are looked at by various people who are disconnected from it, and then an approval goes through. Like, there's very rarely a comprehensive environmental assessment that is done that is realistic.
Okay. Yeah, and unless, you know, sometimes a municipality can put that as part of their review, as their local review. We saw a little bit of that in Murraysville last year with the Titan well pad, where they had some more different type of reviews and environmental review that was required. And I have to say, going through that process versus going through the processes here in Penn Township locally, it was a much different process, because you could tell that the Murraysville board and the people that they had hired, they actually hired experts on traffic. They had hired experts on looking at a lot of those plans to see if they were realistic. And we just do not have that investment in the people here in Penn Township. They do not invest the money in reviewing those plans to the extent that they should be. And so that's why there is a need for an organization like Protect PT and some of our partner organizations to do this work, because no one else is doing it. The DEP is not doing it. you know, and the company certainly isn't doing it. And so, you know, in many locations, in many municipalities across Pennsylvania, you know, this is up to the folks that live there or organizations that are helping those folks. So that's why we try to empower people with, you know, just giving them the knowledge of what's going on and doing the research for them. And that's why I think it's an essential part to have not only our organization, but folks like Peter, John, and Ryan doing the work over the summer to help us. It's an essential part of, you know, protecting our community. So we actually have a question on monitoring, and Lois had a question: is anyone in Monroeville here could definitely message Kathleen. And then Tony asks, are you interested in monitoring in Monroeville? So it looks like Monroeville, you know, our neighboring community, wants monitoring as well. Do you want to answer that, Kathleen?
We have been expanding our monitoring area. We do ask that it is for members. So if you would like monitoring, and to receive the report, we do ask that you become a member. But especially right now, with the slowing of the actual construction activity, getting baselines a little bit further away from our central area might be a good time to expand into that. So yeah, I'm at Kathleen at protectpt.org. You can email me directly, and we also have a couple of links, which I think we were going to share at the end for anyone who wanted to sign up for monitoring.
Yeah, great. And I believe Tony and Lois are both members, so we're good to go there. And yeah, actually, if we could go to the next screen, we can talk a little bit more about our noise monitoring. This is something that is an essential part of what we do at Protect PT. And to my knowledge, this is like this is a really unique program. I don't know of anyone else that's doing noise monitoring like this that is not an industry company. And so why don't you guys talk a little bit about this?
Well, you can see our awesome PPE we got going on. We're doing no contact monitoring right now. So I just want to reassure everyone who's interested in monitoring, we're not going to come into your house and touch all your stuff and breathe on you. So we are wearing masks. We're wearing gloves when necessary. I was going to a couple different houses for the particular photo with gloves in it. So I was wearing gloves that day. And I forgot what the question was. We do 6-day studies for the noise monitoring, and getting the baselines is essential and actually a really unique opportunity, because often people do not start taking measurements until a problem shows up. So to be able to have a priori data for comparison is a gift, honestly. It's a very rare thing to have, and that's why I think it's so important that we are doing that. John and Peter, do you want to talk a little bit more about the setup?
Yeah, so go ahead, Peter.
No, go for it.
Yeah, so as you can see, the picture on the left, Peter setting up the shepherd's hook with the birdhouse, which is what that noise monitor goes into. And then that's really about it once you get the study set up, and we leave the member with a folder, which I think is really cool because they can record any loud sounds that they observe. So that helps us a lot in writing our reports. And it's also cool because it feels like we're like all doing it together as like a community thing. So yeah.
Yeah, John, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is community science. So
Right.
it really requires the active participation of the people who are having the studies done. And the report you get back is personalized and has all of the residents' observations included in it. And then we try to correlate those observations to what we see in the data. And this is not something the industry does. The industry usually will come out and do a 72-hour study and do 24-hour averages and leave it at that. And we tried to break that data up into day and night. We try to look at local ordinances. So it sometimes takes a long time for you to get your report, but that's because we're putting a lot of effort into it. Peter, do you want to talk about the air monitoring for a little bit?
Yeah, so the air monitoring, it lasts just about a month. So we leave one outside the home and we put one inside the house just to make sure all the levels like are okay, are like, safe. But yeah, it's pretty much like the noise monitoring, except it goes on a shepherd's hook and we just leave it outside and on your porch so we have no contact, and it works pretty well.
And that's a partnership we have with the Environmental Health Project, where we collect the data and then send the files to them, and they prepare a report based on that and send it back to us, and we give that to the resident. So that's they've been great to work with. I know they've had some restructuring over the past couple of months, but we love working with them, and we will be continuing to work with them on this.
Yeah, and actually, a couple weeks ago, we had one of their science advisors on. And so if you go back into our lunch hour on YouTube, you can actually check out all the different lunch hours we've had in the past. And one of those is the one with the Environmental Health Project, where they talk more in depth about their air monitoring. And actually, Kathleen talks quite a bit in depth about the noise monitoring program. Do we want to hop to the next screen? And yeah, so if anyone is interested in air, so Mary has graciously put the link up here for the air monitoring. And then if you're interested in noise monitoring, here's the link for noise monitoring as well. So all of this is available on our website. And we're actually really excited because at the end of the summer, I should mention 2 other special interns that are not here today that are working on a mobile application for us to support our monitoring programs. Like Kathleen and the interns were talking about the involvement in the community. We found that, a lot of folks find it difficult to write those instances down where they have, whether it's impacts or whether it's baseline data, things that are going to impact that noise data or that air data, and doing that. So we're hoping that our mobile application will aid in that, where you can go in and have something downloaded on your phone, the application on your phone, and then go in and make the report right on your phone, and then it'll store your data and it'll send it to us automatically. You won't have to, fill anything extra out, and you'll actually be able to have your own report as well. So let's say you're having health impacts from fracking. We know that this is a major problem, especially in like Washington County. And if anyone has been following what the Attorney General's office has been talking about in the grand jury panel, the panel that came out with the recommendations, there are health impacts that happen, and we work with folks like the Environmental Health Project who really highlights the health impacts. But this, you could use this tool for air monitoring, for noise monitoring, also for monitoring health impacts. So, and you can then submit that report, and we'll send the data directly to the Environmental Health Project. And you could also print a report out, and you could bring it to your doctor's office if you want. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of things that we're doing right now that's that are really exciting. And so we want to make sure we mention that. And then if you go to the next screen, so we have, every year we have, we kind of assess what our needs are for that particular year. And then we will put up internships, that correspond with those needs. And so the computer science one is actually pretty unique. That's one that's just for the mobile application. So I'm not sure if we'll have a computer science intern in the future, but we definitely will always have the need for things like a social media intern, environmental science and research intern, a legal intern, a community organizer intern, and water quality and data analysis intern. And so we're really happy to have many interns with us. But if you are interested in the future, maybe a friend of yours that worked with Protect PT, or if you're looking for stuff to do in the future, please apply. You can apply right on our website, and if you click on these links that are here underlined, it actually gives you the whole job description, so you can check out what you're going to be doing and see if it's something you're interested in, and then apply, because we're always looking for folks to help out. And like I said, if you're not able to be an intern, you could also volunteer. We have some great volunteers as well helping with some of these comments too. So I just want to mention that. And then if we can go to the next screen, we actually just had our prize drawing yesterday for our member drive. So 3 folks won a prize from Protect PT. We gave away an Amazon Echo, a tablet, and a Patagonia bag. So that is really exciting. And Mary has other things, she's working on for membership. And like Kathleen said, one of the benefits to membership is that you have access to these monitoring. So please join us as a member, and if you're not already a member. And the work that we do, your support actually goes right to that work that we do, whether it's gathering files from the DEP or and researching those files, or whether it's actually going out and doing the monitoring work or writing the reports, like Kathleen said, take a lot of time to write. So
They look so simple. They look so simple when you get them, but I promise we try really hard.
So before we leave, we've got a couple more things, but before we leave, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the biggest takeaway that you think you're going to kind of take away from your internship and your time here this summer with Protect BT?
Yeah, I think that I think for me, this is something I mentioned earlier, was that like about like doing work that like means something is a lot easier to do. I think that's a big one. But another one is that like even just experiences that I didn't think would like maybe aid me in the future. Like I've had research experience in the past where I've had to like actually look into peer-reviewed articles to get lab procedures or something like that. And like that's actually like a skill in and of itself, being able to find the right stuff and be able to read it, because it's like you have to kind of skim them, like, you know what I mean? You can't really like really read them because it'll make your head hurt. The language is very beefed up in those sometimes. So I think that learning how to look at those kind of sources and stuff like really aided me, and I was surprised at how important that was, for sure. So I think that that's something that I'll take away.
Great.
My biggest thing is, like, in school and class, we'd always learn, all right, these are the regulations, this is the way you're supposed to do. But like here, it's actually like, all right, now you're actually going to go out and actually physically try to change, like get these measurements, make this report, and actually like give it back to the community, to the members. So it's like, I don't know how to say it well, but it's like, we're giving back more instead of just, I'm just doing this for a grade or just for class. It's actually for the community. It's for someone else. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my biggest takeaway is the hands-on stuff that I would not get in a classroom. And to build off Ryan's point, like the connection between the work and like why it's important, and that to me has been really fulfilling to see that like the work that we're doing actually means something.
Great. And Lois says she wants to personally thank the interns for the job you're doing, and Kathleen for mentoring them. Also, thanks for the forms towards air monitoring, because it sounds like she's interested in air monitoring. And yeah, I think that we always get a different group of interns, and you know, when we interview folks, we just hope that we are getting it right. And it's so gratifying to see when we do get it right, and when we you know, we have guys like you that can contribute, and you know, just make us stronger, you know, because we're all in it together. Really, at the end of the day, we all have to live on this planet, and in some of us in this community, you know, and you know, we want to make sure that folks are, you know, have their environmental rights protected. So that's why I think it's important that we're here. And if we'll go ahead to the next screen. So every week we have a virtual lunch hour. So if you subscribe to our YouTube, you'll get updates on that. We actually just scheduled our one for next week. And we also want to hear from you. So if you'll go to the next screen, we have a survey. So take your survey and let us know if there's content you want to see in the future. We're happy to give that content to you through our virtual virtual lunch hour. And we're going to continue to do this. You know, we initially thought that this lunch hour was going to be an opportunity for us as a staff to really kind of let you guys know what we've been working on, to let you know that even though our office may be closed, which it's not currently, but if it goes in that direction again, we may close our office again. But right now we're limited staff in our office to make sure that we're social distancing and following those practices. And you know, really navigating that system. And it's great that we can have folks be at home helping us, like these guys. And so please let us know what you want to hear in the future. And we're happy to reach out to folks to provide that information to you. And Tricia says, we've got another comment, learning by doing, or learn by doing, very different than in the classroom. Great job you are doing. So thank you, Tricia, for the words, the kind words. And she would know, she was a teacher, so she taught folks for a living. If you'll go to the next screen, I want to mention next week, we're going to talk more about our environmental rights. And we actually, in Pennsylvania, we're one of the only states that has a green amendment. So we're going to talk to Maya Van Rossum from the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, and she's going to be with us next week at noon. And we're going to talk with her about the work that she and her organization have done. And we're actually going to be giving away a book. So she wrote a book on the Green Amendment. And the Delaware Riverkeeper over the years has done some really amazing work on the Environmental Rights Amendment. If you're not familiar, look it up. It's Article 1, Section 27 of our Pennsylvania Constitution that affords us the right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of our natural, historic, scenic, and aesthetic values of the environment. And it talks about how the resources of Pennsylvania are for all people, and not just people now, but people, you know, generations yet to come. So we're going to be talking to Maya next week. And thank you guys for coming and joining us today. We're actually cutting it short for once. That's amazing. And if you haven't been following our feed, you know, give us your feedback on our lunch hour. Join our YouTube and subscribe. And we've got some more comments coming in last minute. But thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you want monitoring, reach out, because you might meet John and Peter in person. And Ryan's going to be doing some field work hopefully next week or the week after, taking some water samples. And so have a great lunch, guys. And we'll talk to you next week.